from a barbarian, mainly these camels. You see, a lot of holes is missing in the history, and a lot of people are confused about this stuff. You see, then the white man comes. Was the white man in the caves in hills, caves and hills of Europe as a barbarian? Then what is this man doing down here? Fighting. Now you have if you can get the papyrus, you can get it out of the book, Ewalis Budge's book, From Fetish to God in Ancient Egypt. Budge's book, awesome piece of work. All black people should have that if you want to know some stuff about Egyptian mythology, as well as the math stuff. It's only $9. You can get it at the Sphinx, or you can order it. In that book, that papyrus, the wars, I think it's called the Contentions of Horus and Set. When they talk about this war that's going on in the Nile Valley, even before many of you even drummed in, and they kicked these people all out in Europe. You see? So it's something about this holes in all of this stuff. And so what we need to do is we need to go all the way back and find out what's going on with this whole beast thing. Let's trace this thing back. Number one, if you was talking to C. Freeman L., he talks about the Akashic records. What these Akashic records is, right in your own memory bank. If you go high enough to get to the God state, there's a whole vast body of knowledge that will open up to you. You see. And we do know that the original people at least have access to this. The white boys can't do it. And all. Elijah Muhammad hit on his 66 trillion years of history, and we laughed at this stuff. You know, in his message to the black man, 1967 or 68, he hits on this stuff, and we go, oh, this is the most ridiculous, bizarre type of history. And we disregarded it. We didn't know that there's some stuff called Akashic records. And this contacted Master Farad Muhammad, as well as his own self going to a high God state later on. Because if you look at the message to the black man and look at the theology of time that just came out, it's a great piece of work. And this is coming from his mind, Elijah Muhammad. But the teachings, the supreme wisdoms at first, is coming from Master Farad. He writes this book, and we think it's some gross amount of just mythology. The New York Times says that he's a master psychologist. And we take that as, well, he's just a psychologist. He knew the history of his people. Here's the book, been out of print. It just came back in, but without print was in Health Research, which is a company that prints out of print books. Now here's a guy, Rudolf Steiner, who is one of the great masters of the occult. Right? One of the great masters. Let that brother in, if you want to come on in. Kevin, come on in. Yeah. One of the great masters of the occult. Rudolf Steiner, and the name of this book is called Atlantis and Lemuria. And all. Now, he has a whole section of books on him. Not only does he have books on him, he has books, other people writing on his theories. And all. And in his book, he says this book is coming from the Akashic records. And when I'm looking in this book, the last chapter, remember that Elijah Muhammad said that one of the patriarchs blew the moon from the earth. You heard that before. Which one was it? Grandfather Spaz or one of those? I can't think of who it was. The blue moon from the earth. Always after that. Even Farrakhan in 1991, Faith's Day repeats this. Oh, wow. Here's the crap about he's talking about it in his last chapter. The separation from the moon and the earth. Separation from the moon and the earth. In here he talks about, in Atlantis, we have Manu. You say Manu or Yahoo, whatever. Coming from his Akashic records, makes this germ to create a new race of men. You see. But see, this was a white boy that wrote this in 1922. You see. And years before the message to the black man, saying the same thing. But as usual, we got to validate things to the white boys. We understand that. Now, I want to go to, and I know where this stuff is now, my picture. We want to go to the Atlantean period. My friend right here that does research with me, his name is Robert Calloway. He'll be speaking here soon. Oh, if you wanted to introduce me, right? All right. If you want to hear him, he's going to be dropping the Wednesday night at Clark College with me. We got a series going on at Clark, and he's going to be dropping on the cycles, which we need to know about. It's free, so come out. It's in the boys' dormitory. Roy Hall. Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we got a report going on with a group of young scholars, and we're going at it. He's going to be dropping on the cycles. You got to understand all this about the cycles. But anyway, you might pass this around, and I can also give you a copy of this. That's the Tamil who looks over. Some of you got something like the Revolution 101 from Congress. Now I might give you a copy of that before we get out of here. You see that there's a white boy in there. You can tell the white boy. There's a white boy in there that's the Tamil who just get some picture of what those 4 men at the Temple of Second One was. But the partner and I, number one, Gerald Massey explains that this whole Atlantis period, this whole Atlantis that they're talking about, number one, says that we understand that when you're talking about water and a place that's submerged under water, that comes from the whole flood thing. If you trace that flood myth back from Kemet, which is the oldest part of this civilization that we know of civilization on this earth, you trace that to trace it all the way back to the deluge of the Nile. Around the Tanzania, Lake Nyanza, what's that? Right. Not that one. On down. They call it Lake Victoria now. I don't want to use that word. Uganda, that area where you have the Schwab people and all that, have a great deluge and a flood. So Matthew traces it back to there. We later on trace this thing, me and my partner, say, wait a minute, this Atlantis is mainly a code word, because we also know that our Afrocentric scholars tell us about continental drift, where you had one continent. Abraham did a whole lecture on that back in 1990. Continental drift, where you have this one mass land, and this one mass land is later on drift. So we trace Atlantis back to a code word meaning the land when the black man ruled the entire earth. That sounds more still going back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Told you about that before. Now they want to put this fictitious place in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It didn't have anything to do with Kemet at first and say, hey, this is popular. But either way, like my brother back here said, it's still all black people. You see, it's still all black people. But because we do know that in all of the literature that's not so spooky, that's on Atlantis, all of that literature, they all say that at one time, all the pinealograms, which is the third eye of black dots, was open in all the people at one time. We'll go into that and explain that. But the point is, the mythology is what I'm interested in. See, we're going to trace this thing, we got to trace this thing from the mythology. And the oldest mythology that we can even think about is the mythology. If you want to picture this, I always pass this out. It's calendars and giving you good luck ever since I've been lecturing in the Temple of Endor. I'm going to pass that around, show people that calendar. This is the oldest mythology that we know of, because it's even older than the pantheon that we know of in dynastic Kemet or pre-dynastic Kemet. It's older than that. In that zodiac, we have the first primordial god, Apis Atyrus, which means earth, or Apis, which is a water cow, a pregnant hippopotamus, meaning the womb, and the first deity is a woman. Now let's get this straight, because I had an argument with a brother that called me and we argued about 3 nights. Let's get this straight. We got to be honest, we're going to get out of this mess.
That's right.
The first deity known to mankind all over the world is not a group of deities, it's not a large pantheon at first, it's one prototypical